So on this channel, you guys know that we do a lot of painting, but this is a collision repair facility that we're in. So we do a lot of collision work, and what that means is doing a quality job. So there's one thing about putting down a beautiful finish and having a nice paint job, but really what you want to do when you're doing these cars is give it a quality repair. You have to make sure that you treat your welds. You want to make sure that these welds are being done right. You want to make sure that you cut it in from the bottom and use all the correct seam sealers. So in this here episode, we're going to be doing this here Subaru, and we did a rear body panel on this here job. We're going to get this one all fixed up. I'm going to show you guys how I handle these. That way I know that they are treated, they're done right, and we just want to make sure that we do a quality repair. And a lot of that is duplicating things like this, a seam sealer. You guys see this seam sealer here? It's hard to see because it's a different color, but once we get it painted, it's going to look just like this does here. And that's gonna make this look like an undetectable repair. So that's what we go after when we're doing these collision jobs. We wanna have these jobs to where if you were to open these up, look at them from the inside as well as the outside, you're gonna have no sign that there was a repair done. And that's why we use the resistance welder. So this here rear body was installed, and you guys can see here, we use all the high-end resistance welders that are needed to duplicate the factory OEM stuff. First thing we're gonna do here is get plastic and cover up the inside of the vehicle. That way we do not get anything on the inside. All right, so you guys see now we have it all bagged off. We have it sealed up tight because we're gonna be doing the inside on this one as well as the outside all at the same time. We do see some stuff that's still on here that needs to be detrimmed. And look who the culprit is. Old Mikey boy leaving parts on the car. So he's back over here again. I'm gonna have to be dealing with this guy quite often lately. And he's gonna get the rest of this stuff taken off. That way we can go up to a factory seam. All right, so we wanna make sure we remove everything that's gonna be in the area that we're gonna be painting, because we wanna take it up to a factory seam. I do not like to smoke in areas. I wanna have everything up to a factory line. That way you can tell that nothing ever was done to the vehicle. Some of this other stuff here that we're gonna take off are these plugs. You guys see these stickers that go over the holes? We want to remove those. That way once we get this cut back in, we can stick these back on and have this looking beautiful. So now that we have it bagged up, we'll go ahead and clean the inside of this, get it cleaned down, and then we'll get it scuffed up. That way we can get this thing painted. All right, we've got it all clean. Now we'll go ahead and scuff it. You guys see here, I outlined where I want to go to on this. This is the seam sealer area here. And then underneath this, we're gonna do our fold tape. That way it gives it a nice transition. It's all covered regardless, but I want this to look like it wasn't done. So let's go ahead and get this thing scuffed up. We'll scuff the outside of this as well as the inside, because we're gonna be doing this all at the same time. And then once we get the outside of this thing done, we're gonna put this on the lift and get the bottom of this treated the way it needs to be done. So a lot of guys will try to lay down on their back and do seam sealers or get something cut in, but to me, through the years, the best way of doing it is getting it on a lift, especially if you have one. Don't just have a lift in your shop and not use it. Get the car on the lift, put your seam sealer, and address any areas that you need to the way that you're gonna be looking at it. So we're not all Michelangelos that can paint stuff upside down. So let's get it on the lift and get this thing treated once the outside of this thing is done the right way. All right, we've got it all scuffed down now and clean. One thing we're gonna do is tape up this here sound deadening pad. It does have a little bit of damage on the edge, but I don't wanna get this fully covered. We'll mask this up, and then at the end, we'll go ahead and hit this with our satin black. That way we can show that this area here that he had fixed right on the edge will match the same way that this does with the same sheen. So we'll mask up that center. All right, so now that we got the body of the vehicle ready, we'll go ahead and get the hatch done, get it sanded down, as well as the new raw bumper. And this is one of the ones with the texture on it. So we have to get this bottom taped up. You guys know these Subarus have a lot of texture on them, and I think they actually changed their texture and made a pattern in them. That way you're not able to repair them like you were with the old texture. So pretty good idea for Subaru, making you have to buy a new bumper if anything is damaged. So first thing we got to do is get this here glue removed from the actual back here. And I like this here 3M adhesive remover. I spray it on there while I'm prepping the outside. This will loosen up the adhesive, and by the time I get the outside prepped, all I'll be able to do is just peel that right off and wipe it with a rag rather than using thinner. So this here is a really good product. It's the 38987 from 3M. All right, so we've got the whole car bagged now, and we're gonna wipe it down. This here we'll wipe with our prep salt and our waterborne cleaner. And then we'll wipe down our raw bumper with our alcohol base. And this was prepped out with a gray scuff pad. And then we hit it with our fine line last thing, because this stuff likes to start to curl up the longer it's on there. So I put this on last. That way we do not have as many chances of it peeling up. And then sometimes through the job, I'll just run my hand along it in certain areas. Sometimes it likes to start to try to lift up right here. You could put some tape on it, but what I do is I'll just come in with the edge of a blade and just touch it if it starts to let up. So we'll hit that with the alcohol, we'll wipe down. We have another bumper in here for a BMW, and then we'll clean off the actual lift gate for this thing with the waterborne cleaner. And then we'll get into sealing it up and getting the inside of this thing all cut in and getting the outside painted at the same time. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and put the adhesion promoter on the raw bumper, and then we'll move into the sealers. We'll get everything sealed up, and then we'll mix up our green that we're gonna use for the inside of the vehicle. All right, so we've got it all sealed up on the inside, and now we'll go ahead and get our green mixed up for the inside of the actual rear body panel and the lower floor of that car. So what I like to do is now mix up my green. We'll go ahead and hit the green like if the factory was doing it, because a lot of times you have the outside color blowing in to give you that effect. It's really not the paint at its full strength. It's from a distance from the actual machine blowing from a high up level. So in order to do that, sometimes you have to dilute the actual base coat, which will give you almost like a candy effect, and that will give you the right actual shade that you need to have that thing looking perfect. So we're gonna go ahead now, we'll mix up some green. We're gonna use the water base. I'm gonna get something cocktailed up. We'll put that on there, and then we'll move into the actual color on the outside of the vehicle. All right, we'll start out with the white, and then we'll add our black. We'll get it to a grayish color, and then we'll add a little green in on it, and that'll get us to where we need to be for that e-coat look. All right, so you guys see here, we put the green as well on the back side of the rear body panel, because this one here almost has a see-through look on it when it's done. So we want to duplicate everything that it has from the factory. So what we're going to do now is, you guys see here, it has the areas for the actual reinforcement. I'm going to mask these off because I want to keep them green. That's how it was. And I'll bring in the old rear body panel and show you guys, because we want to match everything that the factory had. If this car was ever taken apart, we want it to look like nothing was ever done to it. So now we're gonna go ahead and mask up those areas. We'll hit it with our black, and then we'll have the perfect look once we unmask the areas here where the reinforcement goes. All right, so we put 2 coats of base on there. We're gonna go ahead and put a control coat on this one. That way the metallics are all nice and even. And then we're gonna go ahead and dilute some of that base and show you that effect that I do inside the repairs when I'm doing that E-coat look. So it really works nice. You take some of the actual color and you put it in with your mixing clear, which is in us is the 490. And that will give you almost a candy effect over the top of that E-coat that gives it a really factory look. So we'll go ahead, we'll put our control coat on. I won't show you that, but I'm gonna show you guys the mix in the cup. You wanna put about that much in the bottom of your cup and just a little bit of the color of the vehicle to give you that candy effect. And that's what you're gonna put down, and it's gonna have it all blended in nice and clean. All right, so now that we've got our candy gloss effect mixed up, we're gonna go ahead and pull off these here tapes around this area here, because I wanna get a little bit of that color over the top of that to blend it all in nicely. As well on the inside, we're gonna go ahead and dust that. We're gonna dust across this, and this is gonna give this a real even look. You guys see it's a little bit blotchy. Once we hit it with that, this is gonna blend in perfectly and look like a factory. So let's go ahead and hit it with that. All right, so we're gonna head over now and I'll show you the rebar and the rear body. Look who it is, he's back again, the old PDR guy. All right, so I know what you guys were thinking, where's the rebar for this job? It was kind of weird, but this one actually missed the rebar and was a low hit to the rear body panel. So this one is all good. We're gonna be putting back the original rebar on this job, but I wanna take you outside and show you the original rear body. That way you guys can see what it looked like. And there's the rear body panel out in the scrap pile. You guys see it has that candy gloss effect, and the area where the rebar is doesn't have any paint. So now we'll have the OE look. So let's get back in there and get this whole thing cleared up. That way we can get it out of the booth and then get this thing on the lift. All right, now we'll get this thing jacked up. That way we can treat the bottom of this thing and get this job all finished up. All right, so this is underneath the vehicle now. You guys can see all our resistance welds and then our new E-coated rear body panel. So what we're gonna do now is get this all cleaned up. We'll scuff up this here, and we're gonna go ahead and hit this with an epoxy, and then he'll put down his seam sealer, and we will give it a little bit of that green look. All right, now that we got it scuffed and cleaned, we'll go ahead and mix up some epoxy and get that back end of this thing all treated up. All right, now we've got all of our bare metal treated with the epoxy, and then we're gonna go ahead and hit it with a little bit of the green just to give it the same look that this has underneath, just for the appearance reasons. All right, now that we let the epoxy dry for about an hour, we're gonna come back in and hit it with a little bit of the light green from E-coat. Let that set up, and then we'll hit it with our seam sealer. All right, so we've got the E-coat on it now. We put the light green, and that's what matches really good here for the Subarus. So once this sets up, he'll go around and fill in all this area here with his seam sealer. Look who it is. We got old Mikey boy doing the seam sealer on this one, coming through at the end, putting the icing on the cake. I don't know, it looks like he almost might have been a cake maker back in the day. He's got that nice bead going on. All right, now he's got his little brush. So let's see if he's gonna be able to fine tune this one and get this thing looking beautiful. So Mike's been doing this a long time, just like I've been doing the paint for a long time. So he has his little techniques, trying to get this thing looking as OE as possible. And it's looking good so far. So I'm gonna let him do this. He looks like he's getting a little nervous on the camera. And then I'll show it to you guys all finished up. All right, so we've got our seam sealer applied, and I dusted it with a little bit of gray to blend it in, because up here on some of this area, it has it painted the gray. You guys can see that up there on the top. See that sprayable? So we're gonna go ahead and just mist in a little bit at the top. That way it blends it in to this here. And then we'll come in with our wax, and this will be all finished up. All right, so that is it finally finished up. You guys see now we have it blended in to the top. Everything is done with the seam sealer, and this one is paintable in 30 minutes. So we let that dry for about an hour, and then we came back in and dusted it. So we're gonna let this dry for another hour, and then we're gonna come in and wax the bottom of this thing, hit this one spot here where it had the undercoat, and then this will be all done. All right, so now that it's dry, we're gonna go ahead and hit it like they had it. So I know this isn't gonna be pretty. You guys can see it has a little bit of it there, but we're gonna go ahead and do it just like they had it from the factory. And that's just how it was before, so that's how we did it. So we'll let that set up, and then we'll wax it. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and hit it with the wax, and that's gonna go inside the rails. He's gonna go ahead and do that now, put the wand in there, and that's gonna treat that. That goes deep down into the rail with that wand, and then waxes everything and gives it a beautiful factory repair. So that's how we do it here on every job, no matter what the job is. We try to do our best on it. And to me, this is a quality repair. So leave a comment down below and let me know what you guys think of how we did this one. And we'll see you guys on the next one.